What's going on, everyone? It's Al, and yeah, I'm back after a bit. Don't worry, I haven't quit the game or anything. It's just life gets in the way sometimes, but I still am regularly playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Every week or every other week if I can. And I would just like to talk about Justice Hunters and a few of the decks in it, but primarily focusing today on Dracotail. Dracotail is probably my favourite of the three decks from Justice Hunters, followed by K9 and then Yummy. So essentially, what Dracotail is a fusion based strategy which primarily revolves around fusing using monsters in the hand and field. Dragon and spellcaster type monsters predominantly. It has a cool little gimmick where quick fusioning is the name of the game. So you've got your Phimina, which can quick fusion during the main phase by discarding itself to fusion summon in the normal polymerization-esque way. And you've got other cards which just supplement that and just make everything a lot better. Every Dracotail monster has the ability to, when it is sent to the graveyard as fusion material, it can trigger to set a Dracotail spell and trap, and the dragons all have additional effects when they set their respective cards on resolution. So I'll talk about Dracotail and the list I'm playing. Now, this list I have is the list I'm normally playing. I went to a locals recently and played a sort of branded variant of it. That didn't go very well because it just played too hard and it just went too much into draw and other certain interactions, especially like Herald with Yummy boards as well, is quite problematic. But I'll talk to you about it anyway. So to start off, we've got 3 Phimina. So, yep, as I was saying, during the main phase, quick effect, discard it to fusion summon a dragon or spellcaster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. If sent to the graveyard as material fusion summon, you can set the Dracotail spell trap from deck. Very simple, very good, and even better if you manage to see it turn 0, you can start disrupting your opponent's plays. Lucius, however you want to pronounce it, is your main normal / special summon of the deck. So on normal or special summon, you can add any Dracotail monster from your deck to your hand, and it also carries the same back row setting effect that Phimina does. Now moving on to the dragons, we have 3 copies of Dracotail Malulu. So this is like your Blazing Cartesia of the deck. So during the main phase, quick effect, you can fusion summon specifically a Dracotail fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from hand or field. So if you have Lucius on the field normal summon, you've got this all out already. You can do a sort of Aluba Cartesia situation where you can fuse off using your 2 monsters, so your Lucius can resolve if they are running any targeted negation or anything like that. Carries the same back row setting, however, if the set off of the effect is successful, you can non-targeting negate the effects of one face-up monster your opponent controls, and that negate is permanent, by the way. So slightly more controversial for these ratios, I've got 3 Urgula. I think this card is fantastic. So if it's sent to the graveyard as material, set something, and on resolution, if that's successful, you can pop a spell or trap on the field. It can be either player's field, so there's some interesting tech options you can think about there. But if it's in your graveyard, you can target any other spellcaster in your graveyard. So it can be something like that. It could even be Veiler, but it could primarily be your Dracotail spellcasters. Primarily, you'll want to target Phimina or Lucius should you need the follow-up. You place a spellcaster into your hand and you put the Urgula onto the bottom of the deck. Really good, really cool card. I really like it at 3. I think it's just neat. Then we've got Tupan. Not quite as good because it doesn't have that self-recurring ability, but what it does do is it is able to set a back row as well, and also on resolution can destroy a monster on the field. Which is fantastic, I found. So moving on now to Supplemental Engine, we've got 3 King of the Swamp. This can be treated as any fusion material, so you're primarily going to be going into Dragoon or Tyrant of Blue Eyes with this. It also searches polymerization, that's why we're playing 1, which actually helps you make Guardian Chimera, which is really cool. 3 Rahu Dracotail. So you can fusion summon a Dracotail from extra deck using monsters from hand, deck, or field. The gimmick is that the Dracotail fusion monsters have to require a monster in hand, which is why it's not technically a branded fusion, but it kind of is. As long as you have a monster in your hand to use a material, it can be anything, you can resolve this card. And it's also a really good card to bait out things with as well. 3 Ketu. The power level of this card as well is also insane. This is your rotor of the deck, and as well, it has another little bonus effect. If your opponent controls a monster, you can fusion summon on resolution of the card, which is fan-fucking-tastic. Pardon my French. We've got a power 1-of in Called by the Grave, and we've then got the 2 traps, Horn and Flame. These two, whilst also being settable off of your Dracotail main deck monsters, they carry an additional effect, whereas if they resolve successfully, you can bottom deck a Dracotail card in your graveyard and draw one. So they can basically infinitely recur each other. This can target a face-up spell on the field and negate its effects until the end of the turn. This can bounce any attack position monster on the field back to the hand. In a pinch, you can bounce your own monsters to ensure that you can still recycle your cards, which is pretty cool. Yeah, not much else to say about that card. These two are crazy. They are ashable, I believe, which is something to look out for. So yeah, just bear that in mind. For non-engine, I've got free Ash. Yeah, still a good card. Free Nib. So Nibiru is really cool because if you already have like your Dracotail fusions in the graveyard, by clearing the board, you can trigger them to come back, which is pretty damn brilliant. Veiler is awesome because it's a spellcaster. It's also recurable. It's not once per turn, so your Arthalion can bounce your cards back from the graveyard as well. So you can recur your own Hound Traps, but I think it's generally a known thing right now, and I'm sure there are better deck profiles out there to tell you why this card is really good. Ogre, because VSK9 is mad. This also works quite well against the Yummy Mignon. I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm not that experienced. And yeah, 3 Fua. I don't own Perulias or Meowls. Skill issue, I guess, but I'm too much of a casual player to, worry about sinking too much money into this game. Well, I already have. All right. Onto the extra deck. We have 3 copies of Dracotail Arthalion. Insanely good card. Requires a Dracotail monster and one-on-one monsters in the hand. If it's fusion summoned, you can target numbers of monsters on the field or graveyards, up to the number of materials you used in your hand, and bounce them back to the hand. Targets, but it is what it is. And if 2 or more monsters are sent to the graveyard at the same time while this card is in the graveyard, you can special summon it. So that's from your field, from your opponent's field. This triggers if you link stuff off. It's really strong. Then we've got its partner in crime, 2 copies of Gulamel. So this is specifically 1 monster in the hand and 1 Dracotail monster. So when you activate a Dracotail card or effect, as a quick effect, you can chain it, target a card your opponent controls, destroy it, and it also carries the same resurrection effect. So 2 or more monsters sent to the graveyard, same time, you can bring it back. So yeah, there's a lot of like OTK shenanigans you can do this. There are even situations where if you crash, so over the weekend I crashed my Arthalion into someone's Caesar. They both died, and I was able to respawn a Arthalion I used earlier and a Gulamel from the graveyard, and I was able to kill them through that, which is neat. You can also tech cards like Donna for hire, because that destroys 2 cards at the same time. It's an alternate option if you don't want to play something like SP or Cross Sheep. But with the inclusion of cards like Contact C and the like nowadays, it's difficult to not include Cross Sheep, which is what we are doing. We are playing 1 Cross Sheep. Again, really cool. Fusion monsters, brings everything out. Not to mention, if you fuse, if you link into this, you trigger one of these, you can bring back something else from the grave because it's fusion monster, which is pretty damn wicked. Now for the funny cards. Well, not so funny just yet. We've got 1 Seals because we make dragons. 1 Spirit because it can use spellcasters as link material. I think these cards are pretty standard in any pure lists at the moment. Any of the ones I've seen anyway. We have 1 SP. This could also be Donna for hire, depending, but SP I think is just a generally more powerful card. We have then 1 Typhon, or as people now call it, the Surrender Button. I think the card's wicked. I don't care what anyone says. The 1 copy of Secretarian Dragon, broken in the mirror match. It's like evident nowadays that, you know, whoever gets to this first in a Dracotail mirror match is basically probably going to win. There is outplay to this card though, so if your opponent's holding onto any target and negate hand traps, they are going to probably save it for the Secretarian Dragon in the mirror. That goes for like Blue Eyes players as well. They won't like facing off against this card. So King of the Swamp targets, we've got Tyrant Dragon and Dark Dragoon. This card wins games by itself. It's crazy good. Tyrant Dragon can reset your trap cards if you've been unable to successfully resolve either of them and they're just in your graveyard chilling, doing absolutely nothing. You can attack, set them back with this. A sick card in Blue Eyes, the deck itself, which is just really cool. Then we've got the Mysterio and the Dragon Crown. I've not really used this card much because I don't really understand it. If anyone knows any better scenarios for this card's effect to come out, the only thing I can really think of off the top of my head is decks like Vanquish Soul, where they summon by their own effects. But you tell me. I know it's a fantastic card, but I just haven't found the right scenario to use it. And the 1 Guardian Chimera for that. My side deck's a little bit sus, but I'll talk about it anyway. I rarely talk about my side deck. But I've gone with 3 Droll because Mitsurugi is still a thing, and it's still an incredibly strong deck against tech against Rogue. I've got 3 Contact C because it's really good against Canine and Yummy. I've got 3 Lancia for the random Malice player that might show up here and there. Then I've got 3 copies of Thrust and 3 copies of Geki. Because board breakers are apparently decent now. I have found more success with cards like Book of Eclipse than Raigeki, but I wanted to try Raigeki because of Thrust. Because in theory, this deck should be doing some cool stuff if it's forced to go second. But yeah, that's just me talking about Dracotail. What are my thoughts on Justice Hunters? It's tough. There are a lot of grindy matches I found. Especially with the likes of like Canine Vanquish Soul and Yummy. If you manage to stop their early plays, you should always have an okay match against Yummy because your cards do sort of deal with what they set up, but they can have some amount of trouble playing into boards. But yeah, if anyone has any tips or anything in order of how to beat these decks more decisively, I'd love to know because Yummy is infesting my local scene at the moment. But yeah, that has been the deck profile, guys. Generally thinking, I think we're moving into a much more healthier Yu-Gi-Oh scene at the moment. We are expecting a ban list after Worlds, which is really cool. What do I think might get hit? I don't actually know. At the moment, it might seem they might try and phase out Mitsurugi cards and Ryzeal cards a little bit, maybe a bit of Malice, but we'll have to see because you know, there are certain different ban lists for from both places. So fingers crossed, everything goes okay. And yeah, you know, it's always a pleasure to record these videos, and I will see you in the next one.